Hi, this is Lacey from Bourbon House, and you're watching CMS TV.
And we are back right here on Chris Aiken Presents. That, of course, was Night Demon, brand new stuff called Outsider from the album of the same name. And here to talk all about it is the one, the only, Mr. Jarvis Leatherby. Jarvis, how are you, my friend?
Hey, good. I like your, let's see, you got a Metallica background, and your buddy there's got a One Day at a Time background. I like that.
That's right.
That's a little Valerie Bertinelli pre-Van Halen fame there.
Hell yeah.
I'm squeezing your nipples. I'm squeezing your nipples.
Yeah. No, and Jarvis, I don't know if you know Eric. Eric is the guitar player from Stephen Pearcy's band.
Great.
He does the show with me. So
that's killer. Yeah. I used to see Rat all the time back in the day. That lineup, that reunited lineup with Carlos Cavazo was great.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hope to see that again. I hope. Well, I hope you're in it because then you'll keep a gig. You know.
Well, he'll always have a solo career, and I was always totally cool with being in his solo band, and we've done original records, but we have fun playing all his Rat hits, and
that's awesome.
he'll hopefully he will do a final lap with Rat at some point. But we're happy to have you, my brother.
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Right on, man. Well, Jarvis, you were kind enough to send me the full record of Outsider about a month ago, and then my arm ended up fucking up to where we couldn't talk about it then. Which, to be honest, there's a silver lining in this, because when we were supposed to talk roughly a month ago, I hadn't given the record more than just a couple of listens. I'd given it like 3 or 4 listens, to where now I've invested time into it, where I've really dug in. This thing is, I'm going to say it, and I'm not kissing your ass because, I would tell you, this is the best thing you've done by a lot, not even by a little, by a lot. I think it is the most musical thing that you've done. And I think it is the first time since you hit the scene that you personally, as well as the band, have really stretched yourselves to try and reach different areas musically that you've never done before. So congrats. We'll start there. Congrats on such a wide-ranging record, man.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I kind of expect fans of the band or people that know the band to have a reaction of kind of like, what? I don't... Mm-hmm. It's definitely a grower, not a shower. Yeah. If you're into the band, it's the thing about it being a concept record and it being so short in Night Demon fashion, it does lend itself to some repeat listens. Mm-hmm. I think when a lot of people heard we were doing a concept record, they're like, "Oh man, what is this going to be? How much time do I have to invest out of my life into this? Is this a double vinyl, Nostradamus?" Right. Kind of thing, but we write short stuff that's short and sweet to the point, right? So I'm glad that you got a chance to get into it a few times and kind of understand what it's all about,
Sure. Now, from what I know, and correct me if any of this is wrong, but you draw a lot of inspiration, not only on this record, but on everything that you've done from horror movies. Right? Is that sort of correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's an accurate assessment.
So what kind of, in the horror genre, there are types. There's the the types like Hostel or Saw that are just cringe. Then there's the types that are like Jason and Nightmare on Elm Street type movies that are more kind of like campy horror, I guess, for lack of a better term. What types do you look to draw inspiration from for your music, or do you go across the board?
Yeah, it's pretty much across the board. I mean, I kind of started, as a child of the 80s with like the Nightmare on Elm Streets and stuff like that. I'm not really into the slasher films, so to speak, but I got into the old, the Universal stuff, and then the Hammer horror stuff, and then like a lot of great 70s horror, Salem's Lot.
Did you like the movies Scanners?
I love Scanners. I love all David Cronenberg films. The Fly, Scanners was great. Just that scene where the guy's head explodes. I mean, that's just like, I love practical effects like that. But I like the story of Scanners, and I think, I don't know, I think this album is, although it touches on some of those themes and science fiction themes, it's more of a drama, Right. I mean, I love my favorite movies Back to the Future, so it's like I like a lot of the feel of the horror stuff, but I'm not into slasher films. I'm not into like you said, stuff like Saw and Hostel, the gore stuff. I mean, it's pretty interesting, but I like some of the campy stuff. I think that fear and laughter is it's almost like the same physiological response, right? So sure. the two and two go hand in hand for sure.
Right.
But there's nothing silly or funny about our music, so I like that element is left on the table. But I do enjoy that in film.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Now, Jarvis, to write a concept record is never easy. It just isn't. And if it was, then every single band would have one. Right. And instead, whenever you say concept records, I think we all name like the same two or three. We all name Mindcrime. We all name Crimson Idol. Maybe
Awaken the Guardian.
That's a good one. That's kind of the stretch. But the big two are probably Crimson Idol and maybe the Who's record as well, if you want to throw a third one in there.
Or some Floyd stuff. But that's like that's not metal, and that's like way,
Right. So for you, two things come to mind. One, I have to imagine this was difficult to write because you're more used to writing just storytelling 3-minute pieces versus an hour or 40 minutes or whatever of a story. So I imagine that was harder. And I imagine too, it's not as easy to write the middle songs that kind of transition you from point to point. Is that fair?
Yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned film because I actually wrote this as a screenplay first.
Okay.
And that took me a really long time. I mean, there were days that I would just stare at a page for 8 hours, The thing is, when you have stories like this, you kind of know how you want them to start and how you want them to end. And it's the middle. It's the middle, that's so important about filling that out. And if you've written really strong characters, at a certain point, there's a tipping point in the middle where the characters kind of tell you what they're going to do. So that helps in the writing process if you honor your characters that way, because there's things that you write that you're like, this guy would never do this, right? Sure. At this point, you've established who they are. The problem is when you begin and you know how it's going to end, you get really attached to things about the ending. And when you finally get to that point, you're like, it can't ever be this way. And you have to, that's why a lot of stories suck and that a lot of films suck, because the writer can't get over him or herself. And you kind of you have this great idea to end it, but you really have to just put that on the cutting room floor if you want this thing to make sense. And that's the point that I came to. And then the other side of it was writing music to the story, which is something we've never really done. But there's a lot of dynamics in this album musically, and there's a lot of twists and turns that it takes. And that is because of the storyline. It's not because of something that we wanted to do musically. The story took us there, and it's a really interesting way to do it. It's a difficult way to do it. We're not classical composers, so if you told me to write you a sad riff, it would take me a minute. I couldn't just go, okay, well, here's that's this scale, and that's just not us, unfortunately. So we really had to dig deep, and as shitty as the pandemic was for everybody, it was a great thing for us because it finally forced us to take a break after, 600
Right.
shows in the 4 years previous to that, and it gave us an opportunity to take some time to do this.
Right. Now with that, and I wanted to get into that. I think the pandemic, if without the pandemic, the way you work, Night Demon works, you would never be able to invest the time to write like this. No.
No, and we suck at writing on the road. We're really bad at it. We've tried before, and it's just like the results.
There's no time for that.
No, there's not. But even look, like we've had times where we've been in Europe and had like a week off, and we've attempted to do that. Rent a rehearsal studio, and it just, I don't know, man. Like it's just.
I would sightsee if I had a week off in Europe. I'd be like, cool, we can finally go check someplace out. Because to me, I've been in Italy and Germany and couldn't tell you a thing about it.
When you're there as much as we are, you seem too much, man. We just I don't know. I guess we sightsee the dark side of Europe.
No doubt, man.
We come out at night. Actually, there was one summer a few years back where we really spent a long time there, and we were actually playing as a cover band in bars at night on the Reaper Bond. We'd play all night. We went under the name The Howling Men, which we have a song called The Howling Man. And fans started to figure it out and start to come out. But it was a good way for us to make some dough and like stay as sober as possible. And at least during our set, and kind of just stay in shape, when we were out there. So
now, were you playing covers or were you playing Night Demon songs when you were
Covered.
doing that?
Yeah, we were
Really?
covered. Yeah, so we do anything from AC/DC to Bryan Adams to Europe. A lot of we did Round and Round.
Nice.
So we know about 100 songs that aren't ours that we could probably play at any given moment. So I mean that's kind of like what made us good. Or there's the blabbermouth quote. No, that's what I think made us better writers was learning all the songs of our favorite bands and then being able to pull all of those kind of riffs out of your bag of tricks, so to speak. I mean, just kind of learning how other people play and really learning that stuff. That really helped us a lot.
Sure. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to send that clip to Bori tomorrow.
There's already one on there right now. Hold on. I'm sorry. Let me just take 1 minute.
Ahead.
At the top right now, it says Night. I'm Blabbermouth. The top page to the right side. Night Demons, Jarvis, Leatherby. Here's the quote: "Our work ethic and writing good music has gotten us to the upper echelon of our genre." Man, you should see the comments on that one. I think that was taken out of context a bit, but that's kind of what they do, and like that's cool. At least the photo was good.
Yeah. At least it wasn't some awful photo. It looks like you're taking a shit or something, right?
I think they take like screenshots of videos, where you're like mid, and it's just like, yeah, here's this. Anyway, yeah.
Hey, at least look, dude, you got a record to promote. They've got you on the site. No,
I mean, I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Nice. Well, dude, let's dig back into the record, Outsider. I'm going to start with you, but I'm going to move to the band. You specifically, vocally, it's like a whole different singer than the last time we heard from you. Really stretching out, really. I didn't know that you were this clean of a singer. I mean, man, I've seen you a bunch of times and I've obviously heard the record, and you're more of a, kind of a singer. And now you're a singer. Talk a little bit about, was that a difficult transition? Was it a purposeful transition?
It was enjoyable, but it was definitely purposeful. One thing that I thought about when the pandemic first hit and they said it was 2 weeks, we were like, no, this is not 2 weeks. This is 2 years. We knew it. We wrote a song in March of 2020 called Visteria, which a lot of people took the wrong way. It was basically our attack on the media and how they were just trying to scare everybody. It wasn't COVID deniers or anything like this, but this is before the vaccine was even talked about. It wasn't even discussed. But we saw the writing on the wall. We knew what was going on. And I thought, well, okay, here's a great opportunity for me to, first of all, get some vocal rest. And because when you're playing that many gigs, I mean, I don't care how good of a singer you are, you stay in shape vocally, but the chords need a break, you know? So I've always taken singing lessons throughout the years, and I've always tried new coaches. So I decided, hey, let's go with somebody new here now and see if I could pick up some more tricks. And just spent a lot of time singing. So I was living in Ireland during most of the pandemic, and my girlfriend built me like a little vocal studio underneath the stairs. So in a closet that she used to have her trash cans in. Right. So it was good. I got to give her some relief from me being around her 24/7, and I was just in there singing all the time, you know. And I really, you know, with a story like this and an album like this, I thought I need to go to some new places here. So it's, you know, I don't know if we'll ever release the demos because I think I needed to hear myself be that bad at stuff like this to go, okay, you know, let's really, really push it here and see what we can do. And it got to a point where when I did the vocals for the album, you know, I spent a total of 8 hours probably recording the whole thing because I was just ready for it, you know? Okay. So I think that's where that lies. And now doing rehearsals last couple of weeks for the tour coming up, I'm feeling really good, and I'm able to sing this stuff live, and so that's it's really cool. The other thing too is when you talk about the pandemic, we knew this was going to be an extended thing, and the one thing that I thought about was, you know, like, I want to stay in shape to be able to get back on the road when we can. But one thing that I realize is not only are we going to be off the road for 2.5 years, but I'm going to be two or 2.5 years older. And one of the things that people always say is you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or, you know, people are born with musical talent. And it's just not true. You know, it's just not true. It takes will, it takes dedication and some belief, you know, and some faith to be able to do that. And that's the position I put myself in, and that's where I am now.
Right on. Now, you know, you mentioned about talking or about you feel like you can do this on the road. Do you feel like you can do it on the road, gig 121 and 150 and 200? Do you feel like your voice is still going to be able to be clean? You know, because you're still going to do the old catalog too. You know, yeah. I mean, it's not as simple as just doing this one record. It's doing this one record as well as probably 8 to 10 more songs every single night, you know, of your old catalog, which was much harder on your voice. Do you think you'll still be able to push through?
I mean, look, as long as I'm not doing a bunch of blow and drinking a lot, you know, I mean, that was honestly the problem on the older tours, but like, that stuff's calmed down a lot. And that stuff, rest. I mean, there's all these factors that go into it. It's nice to be on a bus on this tour, not in a van, you know, in the States, at least that hopefully helps. But I'm also in a bus with a bunch of guys who love to party. So, you know, like, let's see, that's all up to me, but it's always going to be my fault. You know, I never blame it on the rain, you know? So, you know, that's just it. We'll have to see, you know, but I'm hopeful. And see, the thing is, what I've done vocally on this new record is I've also sang in some higher registers and some lower registers. So I've gotten physically used to singing all across the board. So, and you know, I've been rehearsing catalog songs too. So, let's see what's up, you know, I don't know how many more years I got in me. So now is the time, you know. I don't know how many years all of us got in us, you know? Like, so now is the time. Yeah.
Right on. Well, dude, do you, because you're thinking this way, do you actually think about maybe not doing as much as you do, maybe not touring as extensively as you do, maybe not doing the Ungal stuff, the Sirth Ungal stuff as well, because all of that puts wear on you?
Yeah, I've thought about it, but I just can't see myself not doing it.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I just can't. It's like I gotta be there. You know, if the opportunity's there. This year, I thought we would kind of be a little more selective, and I guess we have been. But some of the offers that we've got, some of the tours we're going to announce, and some of the bands we're going to be able to support, and some of the places that we're going to that we've never been in the world. I mean, it's, you know, you say that, but like once, you know, it's like, why not? You know, like this is what we do. This is what we do.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm the slowing down thing is just, I still feel physically good, and I felt physically bad before, so I'm lucky to feel the way I do now. But I see it with people. I see it when they have a hard time getting out of a car or something, or like, you know, I see it like when people age. It's, you know, we can't get rid of father time, you know? So it's like, I might as well just keep doing it now while I can. I'm like lucky enough to be able to do it at a high level. And as you know, our stage show has so much energy. Like I really, when the day comes that we can't expel that much energy, I think that's when, you know, we may not be around anymore, but right now we can. So let's keep that going.
Dude,
You guys do karate kicks?
Yeah, we've actually our guitar player does some, but only in the air. Like there's never like the 1 foot on the ground, you know. So they're like scissor kicks, you know.
Nice.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, dude, if I know anything about Night Demon, it's you personally are going to drop dead during the encore of a show. It ain't going to be hidden away somewhere after not playing for 10 years.
No, you know, like, and dying on stage. I mean, come on, like Nick Menza died on stage. Lemmy basically did, you know, like.
I almost did.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're still here.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, he had a heart
But
attack on stage last July.
like, you want to go out doing what you love, but you want to go out doing it on a high level, right? So,
Right.
I don't know. We shouldn't be talking about this, man. I have no plans to slow down.
Yeah, there we go. Nice. Well, dude, let me swing it back to the record for a minute, because I do want to talk about a couple of the songs that are really, really, to me, are the curveballs of the record. And the two that I'm thinking are Awake and Beyond the Grave. Very different from what you guys have done in the past. I think those are the ones that when people hear everything, they're going to point to. And they're the ones that you're probably going to either take the criticism or the praise from, because those are the ones that kind of set the bar differently than what you've done previously. What is your take on those songs? Do you feel like they're that different from the past, or do you feel like they fit because, you know, you wrote them? Or
yeah, I think they're different. Again, it's like if the story is what it is, and that's why the songs had to be the way they were. You know, I mean, they had to fit in those spots, and they had to convey what was happening. All of our albums have been a progression, but on this one especially, I mean, once we were writing certain stuff to this story, we just said, look, if we're repeating ourselves, we're just not going to do it. We're not good at that. Like, we're not like an AC/DC or a Slayer, you know, where you could keep cranking out the same stuff and people really enjoy that. You know, they like that. That's your identity. For us, it's like we've, you know, for all intents and purposes, we were basically a band that was glorifying a music of the past. And any kind of traditional heavy metal cliche that you can do, any drum beat, guitar riff, guitar lead, vocal line, we've done it. So we had to inject a lot more of our identity into this, or, you know, we were in the position where at one point we even said, let's not even make any more music if we're not going to do something like this. Like, let's just live off of what we have and just go out there and tour. And otherwise there's just no point. Like, I would rather have people hear this record for the first time and go, whoa, that's different, and even be indifferent about it, than just go, okay, these guys are just doing the same old thing, you know?
Sure. Well, and you know, the nice thing that you have is that your fans are ridiculously loyal. Your fans are loyal in the old Metallica way, in the 1980s
They have
Metallica way.
Yeah, but they had one. But look at, Metallica had loyal fans too. That when they decided to expand, as you will, they were not so loyal anymore. So it's just a risk you have to take. But look, there's nothing not Night Demon about this album. There's nothing not metal about it at all. I don't think.
No, there's no rapping on it. There's no new sounds on it or nothing. I mean, it's definitely Night Demon. It just is. The way I've explained it to a couple people is all the previous Night Demon music was like a runaway train, and now this is more of a controlled train that has stops along the way.
Well, it definitely goes places. I'll tell you that.
It definitely does. It's great, dude. Well, dude, obviously you're back here in the States. You've been living in Ireland. Talk about the differences, man. And this has nothing to do even with music so much.
Yeah.
But living in two places, you really learn. Like I lived in Korea for 2.5 years.
Wow.
So living in Korea, I certainly learned that there's a whole nother ideology on life and living and working and playing and partying and everything when you live somewhere else. You know? So for you, having spent a good amount of time in Ireland the last few years, how do you compare there to here? Is it better, worse? Are those neither of those words you can use? What?
You know what? Like I like it better, but
okay.
I mean, I don't know. I think I'm just burnt on Southern California, But
Right.
I'm American through and through.
Sure.
I love America as a country. It's such a big country. I think Eric can relate to this. When you travel a lot as a band, people always want to talk politics for some dumb reason. And they always think that we're all the same in America. And they don't realize how big this damn place is and how different everybody is, and it's like we're just music guys, we have nothing to do with a lot of things that happen in such a big place. Ireland's cool in the sense that it's safe. Like I'm not worried about getting stabbed or shot at 2 a.m. Like I go for long walks at 2 a.m. and it's all good. People like to drink there, but I don't know. I dig the weather. I'm just tired of the sun, man. I don't know. Here's the thing. The sun tells time, and when you're living this lifestyle, sometimes you got to wake up at noon, and it sucks to just know that the day is done. When the weather's gloomy, it's I don't know. There's always a feeling of promise, that anything could happen. That's just it looks the same way at 2 p.m. as it does at 8 a.m. So I about it, and just I don't know. Ireland's a very metal place. People don't realize that. Not so much. There's not really a big metal scene at all, but it's so old and there's just awesome cemeteries everywhere and just great architecture. And I don't know. It's just it's a really special place. It's a real magical place, and it's helped me out a lot mentally to be there, So, but look, I'm an American through and through. This is the greatest country in the world, and it is because of the attitudes that we've had here for the last couple hundred years. There's a lot of spirit here, and there's a lot of individualism here, and there's a lot of people here that believe in themselves and just have the ability to really stretch a lot of boundaries and redefine what America is all the time. People do that in music all the time. I think it's the mission of an artist to redefine what this place means.
Right on. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, I was just going to ask the burning question that so many Americans probably have is, does it smell anything like Irish Spring soap there?
You know what's fucking crazy? Sorry, I don't know. Sorry,
It's fine.
Okay. They have no idea what Irish Spring is. It doesn't even exist there. I was always I was messing around with my girlfriend one night and I cut a bar of soap with a knife, and she's like, "What?" Because those old commercials, where he cuts the soap.
He does.
Irish Spring, and so make jokes about it. I had to show YouTube the commercials, so they have no idea about it. Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like the Australians when you do the Australian beer. What is
Like
it?
Foster's, they're like, what?
Yeah, they're like no one. That's like coming here and saying, "Hey, let's have a Budweiser." You know,
Exactly.
it's absolute piss beer to them. But nice. Well, Jarvis, man, obviously you are getting ready. What, next week to get out there on the road?
Yeah.
You know, talk a little bit about this tour. Great tour, great bands that are on the tour. So talk a little bit about this tour and what's coming.
Yeah, so this tour was supposed to happen in April of 2020. So it's 3 years now that we've postponed it. One thing that I did is, you know, I've rebooked it 4 times, but we never once announced the reschedule because I had seen tours that were doing this. And again, like, we're not clairvoyant, but we knew that this thing was gonna drag out. So
Sure.
We just canceled it when this whole thing happened. We didn't postpone it and say, people, hold on to your tickets. We just gave refunds, and we're like, look, we'll revisit this when it happens. One thing about all these tours that got rescheduled is kind of like after the third or fourth time, you kind of feel like you've already went to it, you know, even though you weren't there. So this is just, you know, we've actually extended it now, so it's cool. There's a lot more dates than they were originally planned, and it's going to be great. We're out with Satan. We're out with Haunt. We're all good friends. I'm kind of at the point now where we kind of just want to tour with bands that we like and that we get along with and we enjoy being around because we tour so much, and it's always good to get an opportunity to play in front of a new audience and tour with bigger bands. But a lot of times, the times that we've done that, we've just been like, you know, they say never meet your heroes. It's like, man, sometimes it's been a bit of a bum out, you know? So like now to have the opportunity to tour, to select who you want to tour with and kind of be all in it together, you know, we're sharing a backline together and, you know, it's just way easier and attitudes are cooler and you know, you just enjoy your life a lot more because the other 23 hours of the day can really suck if you're not around. And all it takes is one idiot, you know, just kind of screw everything up, you know. So I'm really fortunate to be doing this with guys that I really care about. You know?
And if nothing else, you can just say hello to Trevor from Haunt, and he'll talk for an hour and a half and keep you busy. That guy is a talker.
He is. I thought I was, but sure.
No, dude, just a side note. I interviewed him. The first time I interviewed him was, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or whatever. And I didn't know him from anybody. And I literally just got, so you got a new record out there on Bandcamp. And he went for 35 straight minutes. And I didn't get a word in. I was like, you know, it's one of those, yeah, I couldn't get in because he is a talking machine, man.
You should interview his dad. Do you know who his dad is?
His dad had something to do with Van Halen, right?
No, so my dad had something to do with Van Halen, actually. Well, my dad was in a band with Michael Anthony, but his dad is Bill Electric Church from Montrose.
Oh, yeah.
He was in Montrose. He was in Van Morrison's band, and he was in all that solo Hagar records. So
okay,
he's probably got some great stories. You know,
he's in the I Can't Drive 55 band.
Yep.
Look at that!
Awesome.
Wow. Now, Now I never heard this about your dad. How is he involved with Michael Anthony?
They were best friends when they were growing up. So they were in their first band together, a band called Black Opal. And I think they kicked off in like 68 and went to like the early 70s. So they remained friends. And but Mike kept playing, and he was in a band called Snake. And then he joined Mammoth.
Sure.
And yeah, my dad's got some great stories. And Mike's still married to his girlfriend, who was his girlfriend forever at the time, you know, back in those days too. So, yeah, it's pretty cool thing, you know. And I'm a huge Van Halen fan, so
Sure.
It's cool to have that kind of in my lineage, you know.
So, growing up as a kid, does the bass player from Van Halen ever show up at your house to like hang out or watch a football game or any of that kind of shit?
Yeah, there was some of that when I was young, and I don't think I really cared. You know, I think there might be I can't remember. There might be a photo of me at Eddie and Valerie's wedding are outside of it.
Okay.
Outside the gates of their wedding. I have
Got to go to their wedding. That's pretty.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah, I mean, I was extremely young, but yeah, this again, it's like when you're growing up, it's like what your parents are doing. It's like, who cares? Like that's not cool, you know. But then you realize later, you're like, oh shit, man, they were into some cool stuff, you know. I wish I would have. It was more of a fly on the wall, right? You know,
Right.
Yeah, but we've ran into Mike throughout the years, and I think him and my dad still have contact, like around the holidays and stuff, you know. So yeah, it's super cool, man. You know.
See, if you were a band whore, you'd put those pictures up like to the Van Halen news desk and say, "Night Demon, who knows Van Halen?" You know, and you get more silly blabbermouth quotes.
But see, I just feel like it's funny because I was gonna actually drop a really big artist name who's next door right now in my studio, but I'm not going to because people do this stuff, and I'm always conscious about that, you know, because like as friends, you know, I'd like to talk to you and just be like, oh hey, cool, you know, but people watch this stuff and it's just like, oh man, I hate when things get twisted, like, sensationalized, you know. But yeah, the whole Van, you know, a friend of mine, Greg Renoff, wrote a really good Van Halen book. And like, see, I helped him with some resources and stuff like that, and I thought that was that's a cool effort. But like, you know, once Eddie died, I stopped tuning into the Van Halen news desk because there's nothing to talk about anymore, man. You know,
Right.
I mean, it's over. It's over. There's nothing to talk about.
Look, with no Eddie Van Halen on the planet, there's no reason to talk about it anymore. There's just not.
It's still not real to me, you know. It really isn't. Like it's just, man. It's a sad world without that guy in it, you know.
It is, yeah. And my God, and I won't ask you for a comment on it. I'll make the comment. David Lee Roth, just stop, please.
Yeah.
This stuff he's doing. Oh my God.
I don't know why he record that stuff, you know. I wish they would just really archive more from the old days and release that.
Yeah.
You know, but because there's so much good stuff out there that's not out, you know. But live shows and stuff but yeah, there's no I mean, you know, he's got the right to do whatever he wants, but yeah, I mean, it's I was checking it out the other day, actually, some of the re-recordings, and
yeah, yeek.
if he did it like a cool Vegas lounge act and change the music that way, that'd be like the one album that he did with like that bluegrass band or whatever. I more enjoyed those takes on it.
Diver Down.
Yeah.
I listened to that coming home from our gig the other night. Actually, I'm like, what do I want to listen to? And I ended up putting on Diver Down and putting some of my favorite songs from there on. It was in the covers. I loved the Kinks cover.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Dancing in the Streets, Pretty Woman, Big Bad Bill. I think Eddie and Alex's father actually played clarinet on that, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice. Yeah, very cool. Nice.
We should do a Van Halen show, man. That'd be awesome.
Dude, that door's always look, you know, anytime you want to come on, we can come on and do that. That'll be fun. Why not? I could definitely find you some people that would want to come on and do that too.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Let's put that together. You know, with all your free time that you have. I missed my window. I should have done this during the pandemic. Then we could have done it. But
yeah, totally.
Unfortunately or fortunately, I guess fortunately, you will be busy for the next long term as you have this brand new release, Outsider. It's really, really good. If you liked Night Demon before, you're going to like them a whole lot more, in my opinion, now, because it's the most diverse record they've done. It's definitely a different record for Night Demon without being their weird record. That's just, you know, it's not their Lulu or anything like that. It's definitely Night Demon, but it does.
And you know what? I'll say this: we really want to do a record like that. See, I'm not even going to go into it.
How about don't do that?
There's somebody in our realm right now that of a Lou Reed caliber that from that era that we're really trying to make something work.
I'm going to tell you now, if I get the Elvis Costello and Night Demon record, I'm done with you.
It's way cooler than that. It's way cooler than that, dude. It's way cooler.
Very good. Well, dude, I figured I would end with a little bit of Escape the Void, which is out there now that people can check out. But before we get to that, tell everybody where to go to keep up with you and tour dates and all that good stuff.
Yeah, nightdemon.net. That's it. It's the central place. We've always had our own website. We don't rely on the whatever platform is cool nowadays. I mean, we do all the social stuff, but nightdemon.net, you can find out every single thing you need to know about the band. And if you use social media, you can get links to all that stuff from there.
Very cool. So one more time, the album is called Outsider. When is it actually out?
St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. So we're kicking it off that day at the Whiskey A Go-Go, and there's an Irish bar right next door, so it should be pretty wild.
Very good. Well, one more time, it is Outsider. It is Night Demon. And Jarvis, as always, thanks for checking in with Chris Akin Presents. And for everybody else that watched, that is going to do it for Chris Akin Presents. So for myself, for Eric, and for Jarvis, thanks for tuning in. And this is a little bit of Night Demon. We will see you guys next week.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.